right here. Oh, fuck.
301, everything 10-4?
Negative. I have that subject in the kitchen in a freezer. She is frozen solid.
Creep It Real is a podcast where we present our theories of the subjects we cover based on our interest and research. Some material may be graphic and disturbing, so proceed with caution.
Hey guys, welcome back to Creep It Real. We are continuing our discussion of the death of Kenneka Jenkins today, and we're going to just dive right in. So now we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the investigation. So the Rosemont police conducted interviews with 34 witnesses total. Mostly it was people that had attended the party, but it was also family and a security guard who worked at a liquor store and a couple people that worked at the hotel, but they didn't question... It was a weird thing because they questioned some people that were not even working at the same time as this incident, and then they didn't question those that were. But they did question the security guard who was a contractor for the hotel. Yeah, they didn't interview the manager that was on duty at the time.
That's one of the first people I think you would interview.
Yeah, and they interviewed two people that were there at 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. or something. And I think I keep using those times, but it was something where it was like the party hadn't even begun yet. No one had even checked into that particular room until I think 8 or 9 p.m. of the evening that it went on. So anyway, it was very strange. The contract security. Yeah, so they, like I said, they interviewed the security guard, but they failed to interview the two employees of the Crowne Plaza that were working during the hours in question, and they did not interview any Crowne Plaza management that was on staff at this time. So why did they place so much focus on the people who attended the party, but not on any of the hotel employees who were there at the hotel, who, you know, technically speaking, have access to these areas or the area at least where she was found? I mean, I guess if you're just letting guests wander all over the hotel willy-nilly, then, you know, anybody could get to those places. But, you know, who knows? Like, I don't know. Was that door really locked? Did that guy have to open that freezer door with a key, you know, to unlock it? And then I just think there's so many things that you could have asked of the employees that were actually at the hotel. Like, what were you doing that you didn't see this lady walking around and falling over rails for an hour, you know?
Well, I don't get why you would go to the trouble of making sure that the freezer was locked when, one, it wasn't in use, when, two, like, the whole area wasn't even taped off or blocked off. There was no caution construction signs. You kind of want to keep guests out of that area. And normally hotels, when they have stuff like that going on, there's signs all over the hotel that say, like, sorry for the inconvenience, we're remodeling, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But I don't know, because I think it's strange that there was a party on this 9th floor and she somehow made her way all the way down to find this, what sounds like kind of a abandoned freezer.
Yeah.
So that she could crawl in it.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it's like, that just sounds like such a load. It's a high tail is what that is. I think, what do they call those when you're a kid?
Yeah.
Tall tail. Not a high tail, a tall tail.
It's a high tail.
Yeah, so, and it's, you know, I always am like, it's slightly insulting, though I do think there could be some percentage of possibility that it was actually the case that she just wandered into that freezer. But I don't think it's likely. You know, it's a small percentage here because it just does not make sense. And, you know, and like I said a million times already, how convenient that you end up in a unused, supposedly, freezer that's going to have less traffic. I don't think that it would affect the health and safety regulations they have to follow, the codes that they have to follow. I'm sure if she was found in a different freezer that they used to store food that they served customers, that would probably shut down the kitchen for at least a while.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, that's like, not to come off callous or unempathetic, but that's like total food contamination.
Right.
A dead body.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
a lot of wasted money.
Yeah.
You have to throw all that out.
It would have affected business in some way.
But it's weird. So, like, again, like, also, too, in their reviews, they're talking about how the one working restaurant in the entire hotel had, like, really weird hours. And even if guests wanted to, like, go eat, they couldn't all the time because their hours were never consistent when they were open.
That hotel just kind of sounds like it wasn't being run very
sucks.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a hotel that you want to go stay in. Whether, you know, it was run terribly and, I don't know, maybe it just opened a situation up for somebody like security to be smoking weed in the back of the hotel, or, you know, not in the cooler even, but, you know, something, taking a break for too long, or or he was running linens and pillows around rooms and stuff. So maybe they just were too understaffed that, like, even the security guard had to get into the mix, and ended up making a situation where a girl was able to be put or walked herself into a freezer, and they didn't find her in time. I don't know. It just all around sounds like a bad place if you're hoping that you're going to be safe staying there.
Yeah.
In the police files, they interviewed a liquor store employee who worked security at this liquor store that was 36 minutes away from the hotel, which I thought was, like, really odd. And they said that he was positive that Kenneka, in 2 weeks prior to this situation where she ended up in the freezer, she had been witness to a male that she knew shoot a female that she knew, and that the male knew that she saw him shoot her. Yes. Okay. So she was witness to some sort of, I don't know if it was like a gang shooting or if it was just some sort of dispute between a bunch of people that knew each other, but she had witnessed somebody being shot. So they included that in the police investigation, but in the documents, but I'm not sure if really anything came of it. That whole story kind of made me start wondering if maybe looking into her death too much could have messed up another investigation that was perhaps, like, broader reaching, of, like, some gang members or something where, you know, if they looked too much into it, maybe it would have gotten in the way. That's me being, jumping into conspiracies, but.
Well, like, I know that at some point it said that some of her friends on social media said that her friend Monifa was setting her up, and that's why Kenneka was at this party.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I don't know. I know that there were a lot of social media posts, and then there were a lot of fake accounts that were created. So I never know what was real and what was fake on those friends' posts of social media, because there a ton of people made Instagrams and Facebooks for certain people that were at the party, and then, like, created all these stories. So I am always like, I have no idea. Maybe that is true. Maybe it's not. I know that Monifa has come out on social media a lot defending herself, but that doesn't mean she didn't do anything.
right.
Who knows?
There's always going to be wild conspiracies surrounding stuff like this, especially when there's never, like, a cut and dry,
Right.
like, resolution.
So there were multiple witness statements inside the police files that were from various members of the Goody Mob faction of the Vice Lords street gang, who state that they were at the party and it was attended by the usual people that party together. They were always cool and chill parties, and that nobody ever had any issues with each other and fights didn't break out. There wasn't any weird sexual activity going on where people were being raped in a room. So a lot of people say the same couple of words. Like, I saw them say they were chill and cool parties and people a lot, and maybe that's just the words they use, but I was like, it was to the point where I was like, did y'all talk about how to describe this party with each other so that you all were on the same page? Which maybe that still could be somewhat innocent, because you might just need to, you know, I don't know, even if you didn't murder someone, maybe you're just like, let's get our, I don't know, do you say, like, let's get our story straight? I don't know.
Oh, I think so. Like,
Okay.
maybe they didn't necessarily murder her, but something happened that they know, and they're just scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think people would get together and say, let's all make sure our stories coincide with each other's. So
Yeah. Like, and they said they usually party together a lot. Multiple different people. So it was attended by a bunch of people that, according to the police documents, were of blood relation to Kenneka. A lot of cousins, particularly. And many stated that everyone at the party loved her and wouldn't want to see anything bad happen to her. And if that's the case, and the statements about the party consisting of the usual friends that chill together are true, it seems unlikely that enough people at the party have been able to cover up a big murder for almost a year. Though that's not impossible if, in fact, they're just saying that to make themselves look like they didn't do something.
Yeah.
Or, like you just said, maybe they do love her and wouldn't want anything bad to happen to her, but she, like, had a seizure and they freaked out and didn't know what to do, and she, who knows? I mean, I have no idea. There was no real signs of her choking on her
vomit
bodily
or
fluids or anything. So,
Yeah.
I just don't know, man. Because there are sometimes where I feel like the people at the party seem dubious and guilty. And then there are other times where I'm just like, they were probably just getting high. That party, from what I saw, looked a little too relaxed even, like they were really relaxed, big time. And I was like, man, that doesn't even look like fun. You're just sitting around. At that point, though, it had died down, I think, because at some point,
yeah,
that's the other, or maybe it was earlier on. Maybe it was earlier. And they got more wild as the night, because they were like singing and dancing, and I know they were doing all sorts of stuff. So there were times where they weren't just like laying there. But that's the other thing, is the actual official timeline is kind of wonky, because certain videos that the police released had certain times on them, other ones had different times on them. Even her friends themselves had they initially said 2 a.m. and then it was 3 a.m. and then stories like that, like time-wise, kind of changed. So
Yeah.
that's just another one of those things where it's like, is it just innocent, stressful situation type of stuff, or is it that y'all don't have your story straight? So like everybody at the party said that they just thought that she had found somebody else, some other friend group, and had gone with them, and that's why most of the friends that were there didn't really worry too much about where Kenneka had been when they heard they couldn't find her, because they just thought, well, she went home with somebody else. So that was their general excuse as to why it was not a big deal. So there were a couple gangs there, and the security had to come to the door a few times due to the loud music, where from accounts of people that were at the party, he kind of joked around and laughed with them. I think one of the accounts I heard was one of the guys was like, man, old people tell on people, and he was like, you're not old, to the security guard, because he was like a young guy, and he kind of laughed it off. So who knows? Like, I know he knew there was weed being smoked in the room. He told police that they have to give 3 warnings before they start making moves to kick people out, but who knows why they didn't do it. Did you want to talk about that video that you were telling me about?
Before I open my mouth about this one, though, what was it that was said that I think Monifa is said in the video? Like, you remember that? She was in the bathroom and her friends were doing like a video, and there's some speculation of choice wording going on, but it has not been confirmed.
Are you talking about the one where they think someone says they're raping a...
Yeah,
they're raping her
in there.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that we're like, right? I'm not wrong.
I don't know. I mean, the audio stuff is one of those things where it stresses me out to be too sure about anything, because I do think that if you hear someone tell you they're saying they're raping her in there, that you can start to hear it kind of. Yeah. And so, but I'm not sure, so I'm not positive. But yeah, like on the one video, people have thought that they heard some girl, I think, I don't even know if they know what girl it was, but heard one of the females say they're raping her in there, or they're raping a girl in there.
Raping her ass. Or something, right?
Or they're raping her ass. Okay, I don't know. Maybe. They also hear something about freezers, like they put them in freezers or something like that. And like I said,
see, that type of stuff, I'm like, I think people are reaching and trying to hear things.
Yeah, I would think that's the case. Like it's possible, but I don't think so. And they would have to be really stupid to sit there and do Facebook Lives while they're plotting on how to stash a dead body of their friend, unless the person that was doing the video was trying to record them so that they would out them. But either way, nothing happened from that. The police actually got those original videos from Facebook and did a forensic analysis on it, and came up with nothing. And they said that it wasn't what everybody was claiming. Right. So if they sent it to professionals and they came back, unless it's a cover-up, but I mean, who knows, dude? Who knows? But I don't think about that. I just don't think so. So I think we both have some issues with like the official story that we can talk about now. And, initially I had been like, this was they mishandled the scene like crazy back when it happened. And then whenever I really started researching cases, I was like, whoa, man, as much as a year ago, however long, it wasn't even a year, was it? That at that point, I thought this was like a huge bungling of a case, at least from just the outside looking in. And now I know it can be so much worse, which, I mean, that's not comforting in any way, but it is the case. So there was some stuff that was kind of not done really well. Like, they didn't cordon the area off. People were coming in and out of the entire kitchen area in the freezer. They didn't have measurements and markers with their photographs that they took of her inside the freezer. They moved her body, like I said, to reposition her from the position they found her in. They didn't have protective coverings on their clothes. And I never saw, but not to say that it didn't happen, but I never saw anything about fingerprinting of the door. And then this is where we'll talk about the fact that they state she was frozen solid at the time of discovery of her body, which we already kind of talked about, I guess. But the autopsy performed the same day. It can take up to 7 days to thaw a body at the standard 38 degrees. But they took measurements of the temperatures of the freezer and the fridge whenever they had already been kind of documenting stuff inside of it. So the doors had supposedly been left open. So it was a couple hours of the door being open, and they took the temperature, and the freezer was 33 and the fridge was 44. So still, even then, it's colder than the temperature that you would have a body being thawed at. I don't know why they didn't take temperature of the freezer when they went inside of it, but was it turned on, or I think it probably was turned on if they left the doors open and it got to that temperature. I mean, who really knows? I keep saying that, but I really just don't know.
So I do think it's interesting. I don't know why I'm talking about it still, but in Ty Rowland's video, it does seem like he's throwing up gang signs.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if that has anything to do with like the shooting you were talking about, but
I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely hand signals being thrown around.
Yeah, well, they thought that gang shooting was significant enough to be included in part of the investigation and as one of the 34 witnesses for this death investigation. So, you know,
I think it would be interesting to look into the cell phone records on Kenneka's cell phone.
Yeah, which they did.
But were they ever released?
Yeah, and she did receive, there was nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay.
Most of it was between her friends, but on the night that she died, there was a message from a number that they couldn't trace, and it said something like, "Why you always trying to kill me?" or something like that.
So I guess if there had been something nefarious, they would have released it or talked about it. At least somebody would have known.
Well, like I said, I would think so, unless it had ties to something that was on a larger scale, like a larger scale gang investigation or something, where if they did too much to, and this is for me watching too much Sneaky Pete and
what is that?
What is the other Goliath? These two shows on Amazon that are really good. Anyway, so I'm like thinking maybe there was a broader scale investigation that would have been disrupted if you made too much noise about this one death or murder, if it was a gang related thing. I mean, I just don't know.
That's weird.
Or it could not even be related. They could have just said this has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So, like I said earlier, that manager had his keys, and it looked like he used those keys to open the cooler door. From the limited view that you can see, you see when she walks down that one way in the kitchen, and then you can see the light of the fridge when she opens the cooler door. You can see him do the same thing. He, on his way there, he was holding keys down by his side, and then he starts kind of wrangling them up closer as he gets closer to the door, which to me, that only means that he was using them to open the door, or at least try to use them to open the door. So if, in fact, it was locked like we said, then who put her in there and locked the door behind her? Or how did she get in if it was supposed to be locked? You know, does that mean someone with a key has something to do with it, or what? What's going on here? Was it even locked at all? Unless he found something propped up in front of it or something that someone had used to block the door. So now we're on to like the conspiracy aspects, because other than this gal, you know, was so inebriated that she put herself in a freezer and died, there's not been much else that they've tried to look into about it.
Well,
you know,
I think when you watch the videos, like your first initial reaction is to be like, "Oh my God, she is drunk."
Yeah.
And then you watch her, and I mean, we've all seen drunk people stumble around and whatnot, and there is definitely something different about the way she's walking around and her head and the way she's carrying herself that I don't think I've ever quite seen before. And quite honestly, the videos are kind of creepy to me.
Oh, they definitely are.
Because she's just alone in this giant hotel walking around like a zombie. It's bizarre. And then you read about the side effects of the Topamax, the Topamate, right?
Topiramate.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense.
Well, and like you said also, though, this is kind of just me throwing in some wackadoo. I'm like, Yeah, she's walking around by herself for an hour.
By herself, yes.
Never once is there someone else that comes in contact with her. And is that because you cut out some of the interactions that she might have had where you kind of bring her into the middle of the hallway? Or like, did she have interactions with employees and you didn't want to show those? Or what? What is the deal? Because I find it so hard to believe that even if it's 3 a.m., that she's wandering around. There were still people, like, I think, coming to the party at that time. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't think I am. And I just don't understand how she never ran into anybody. In any of the videos, there was never another person in any of the scenes of all that footage. I just find that to be odd.
Well, I mean, the security guard's supposedly running around bringing people towels.
He is.
It just didn't.
I don't know.
Make sense.
There was this crime scene photo analyst and expert witness. So she reviewed these crime scene photos, and some of her comments about what she just saw in the pictures themselves, I wanted to talk about just as a theory. No, this is obviously conspiracies, but, you know, it's a possible theory. No, she supposedly does this for trials and is an expert witness. So, but she said that Kenneka's eyelashes were missing on her right eye and the others were clumped and coming off at the lash line. She said they were clumped together and that there was perspiration around her eyes. And to her, that indicated that perhaps that there had been a plastic bag or something over her head that had been removed without care. So it had been kind of stuck to her and then taken off really fast.
Yeah, but then we read about how, you know, the medication could have possibly caused her to become extremely hot. So maybe she was perspiring from that.
Yeah, totally. And just struggling. I mean,
Yeah.
Her hair was all over the place, so I don't know why if that was just because it got really cold and maybe just it was humid in there. You know, I just don't know.
I know, like, when people experience hypothermia, which is, like, what they're saying caused ultimately her death, you tend to kind of get delusional, and people have been known to try to strip themselves naked.
Yeah.
So maybe she disheveled herself while in the throes.
But, I mean, she was still wearing all her clothes, though. Like, it seems like she would have taken off her jean jacket if she was really trying to
Something.
cool off. That's what I always found to be odd. Like, if she was really trying to cool off, would she really have left her jean jacket, which, while I love my jean jacket,
It is hot.
I'm hot. I don't want to wear that thing at all.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. She's also, this lady said that her lips were swollen with white marks that appeared to be raw skin and drool. And to her, that this indicated that she had been suffocated. And again, and this lady seems to have a thing for the plastic bag theory, but to her, this indicated that she had been suffocated and perhaps a plastic bag had been over her head and it took some of the skin off of her lips because it was so tight on her face. I don't know. I'll finish her theories real quick. She said that her skin looked like it had been exposed to extreme heat and her hair was stuck to her face and eyelashes. Her hair was tangled and tousled and seemed to be exposed to humidity. It was her opinion that Kenneka was not frozen to the point of death by hypothermia, just based off of her looking at the pictures. So, okay, so it's hard to make sense of the inconsistencies in the timeline produced by the released footage, which has been changed since their initial release. And it's reported that multiple different persons discovered her body, but one thing that remained consistent throughout was that Kenneka's body was said to be frozen solid when it was discovered in the freezer, which we have to wonder, was it really frozen solid or had it just simply been in rigor mortis and it was cold and they misspoke? I just don't know why they would say that. So, as we know, the autopsy was performed on the same day that her body was discovered, which is an odd occurrence if she was in fact frozen solid, considering that it can take up to 7 days to properly thaw a body for autopsy at the standard 38 degrees.
Oh, I found a frozen solid body. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why they would have said it. It's one of those things where it's like you're just making the situation look sketchier than maybe it even needs to be. Yeah. I don't know. If this actually was an accident, you only fueled the fire of conspiracy by having all this incorrect stuff and changing dates and that's the other thing. So the police department admitted that the footage that they released to the public and that they put in their Freedom of Information Act files was edited to show that it was possible that Kenneka could have wandered into the freezer, which they stated themselves. The editor of the footage was this woman, Cassandra Van Treek, who happened to also be a reporter for the Chicago Tribune, which in my opinion kind of seems like a conflict of interest because she was reporting on this case as well as editing the video for the public viewing. and knowing that it's edited and admitting it, would they ever include any footage that they wouldn't want the public to see or that would incriminate people they don't want to incriminate? No, they wouldn't. So the footage is edited.
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself, how do we know it really, I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't want to go through all these hours of hotel footage of every single room that has nothing to do with Kenneka, but if she's in the frame, you know, at any point, it should be shown. And that's not quite what they did. Anyway, in addition to that Cassandra lady is supposedly seen on the surveillance footage in the early morning hours coming in and out of the lobby. And according to some people, she was dating one of the males at the party that Kenneka attended. And if that's the case, then you've got a woman dating somebody, also editing the footage of the surveillance footage for the police and the public, and then also writing about the situation. And I feel like that's just one giant confusing. I don't know if it's even, it might just be all rumor, but it just seems to be awfully weird. So on one hand, it's awfully convenient that Kenneka wandered throughout pretty much that entire hotel for over an hour and ended up in the very one place that's not in use. Like I said, it's like, how convenient is that? It wouldn't have much impact on the business. It wouldn't have a lot of people coming in and out to see, oh wait, there's this body laying here. It's just, there's a lot of convenient coincidences, I guess.
And especially if it was like an accident, it just kind of goes to show how much the hotel doesn't give a heck to ensure the safety of their guests.
Right.
Because obviously when you're remodeling a hotel, there's a lot of equipment, there's mess, there's a lot of tools that could be laying around that are dangerous.
Yeah. And, also they either don't give a heck or they are so poorly managed and run that they don't have the manpower to give a heck. I don't know if I just don't know. It's the hotel that's at the airport. That's what's so bizarre. It's like, isn't this frequented often? So in the surveillance video, she exits the lower level kitchen area and goes into the hallway where the stairs are, where she runs into the rail and almost falls over. And then she enters the men's room and she has to push the door to get in the men's room. She stays in there for a few minutes and then she leaves by pulling the handle back towards her and exiting the men's room.
So she knows how to use a door handle.
Right. It is only moments later that she is then picked up on that upper level area where she had taken a flight of stairs to the area where the kitchen is, where she ended up, and she enters the cooler 3 minutes later. So in that 3-minute period, has she lost the ability to turn around and open a door the same way she did only minutes ago in the men's restroom? That's what I'm wondering. I know it's a different type of handle, but it wasn't like she got stuck in the men's restroom, Like, she had to pull the door towards her, not push it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I really don't. And like I said multiple times, the people at the party just said she was really intoxicated, but she was still talking. She was still socializing. It wasn't like she was totally blacked out to the point where she didn't even, I have known some folks who have blacked out drunk. And when you try to talk to them, it's like a bunch of like, like they're generally speaking not going to be like carrying on conversations, getting in and out of doors, and then all of a sudden like something happens and they just can't do it anymore. I don't really understand the logic. What am I trying to say?
You have to use some common sense, and you have to be realistic about these types of things.
Yeah, like give her a little credit too. So Teresa and Leonore also said over and over that Kenneka looked wet and her hair was wet and soapy looking and all over the place. And that's odd to me. Wet and soapy looking. I don't really understand why they would have thought that,
Well, I'm not sure where that would have come from. She wasn't...
Why would it even be soapy at all, It wasn't like they were washing the floor in a, packed freezer room and then came upon a body, And if her body really was frozen solid, then why did she look wet and soapy? And did they unplug the freezer when they discovered her? But even then, why would she be wet unless they just dumped water on her or something? I don't get it. Some people want to say that they're saying a lot of stuff that maybe isn't true because they said that there were cameras over the freezer, and now they're saying, she's looked wet and soapy, but, I want to take everybody's account into account here. It's possible that something weird went on. I have no idea what it would have been, but why she looked wet and soapy and not just frozen, I just don't I don't get it. So that security guard that was the contractor that worked at the hotel that you can see on surveillance, like taking pillows and stuff. And I'm sure everyone's really going to love the way I say pillow. Aww. But he had responded to multiple noise complaints, like I said earlier, regarding the party. And when he interviewed with police, he was unable to provide much explanation for how he was able to spot Kenneka's 3 friends walking through the hotel after she disappeared, but was unable to spot her as she was stumbling through the hotel for over an hour. Because that's suspicious to me. Mm-hmm. He also informed the police that he would be going out of the country less than 2 weeks after they interviewed him. And I don't know if he ever came back or not. I couldn't find that info. Maybe it's irrelevant.
Maybe he got sick of being a towel runner instead of a security guard.
Right, maybe he got a better job.
He became a maid.
So there was this guy named Zachary Stoner. He was the producer and star of Zach TV, which is a popular YouTube channel, and he interviewed local rappers and people in the Chicago area. He wanted to give viewers a real look at the inner workings of Chicago's culture, and he called himself the Hood CNN, and he had interviewed 3 different friends of Kenneka's on his YouTube channel in the past 8-9 months. He claimed that he received multiple threats from influential people in Chicago that warned him not to post the videos of his interviews with these friends. I know one of them was Irene Roberts, and I'm not sure who the other 2 were, but, you know, he seemed like a legit dude. He was really trying to help bring people together in the city. Like, I saw that he was trying to do a song with, like, multiple different gang factions and kind of bring everybody together. But obviously... Oh, but I didn't even get to the... He said he was threatened by some influential people, and on May 30th of this year, 3 days after the memorial celebration of what would have been Kenneka's 20th birthday, Zach was shot multiple times in the neck and head while driving his Jeep in Chicago. He lost consciousness, ran into a light pole, and he eventually died later at the hospital from his injuries. And while this is possibly unrelated, it could possibly be related because I'm not discounting anything. He did interview some friends and seemed to try to get the inside scoop, I guess you would say, on things that were going on in Chicago, and claimed he'd been threatened. And, you know, just from past research experience, I do think that happens at times if people have information that people don't want them to share. So who knows? But it's interesting. And also, Kenneka's uncle, Teresa's brother, was also shot and killed in March of this year. Not like that necessarily has anything to do with it either.
That's still a lot of tragic family happenings,
right,
you know, in such a short period of time.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, now for our final thoughts on the matter. I have a hard time believing that even in the state that she was in, that she could not have gotten herself out of that freezer if that was truly unobstructed and she had just entered and exited the restroom. Like, she walked up some stairs, but she couldn't push a handle to get out of a freezer with a light that supposedly was on. I find it hard to believe.
I watched a video of a guy that does like a complete walkthrough of where Kenneka had gone throughout the whole hotel, and these stairs aren't just not like you know how some hotels have like a floor and then like 5 steps leading up to like their next little floor. This is like a big old steep, kind of scary looking staircase here, and
yeah,
how the heck did she get up them stairs herself,
yeah,
if she couldn't even open a door?
Granted, she was like topsy-turvying, but, you know, we never saw her fall down.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is definitely crazy. But that just does really make me wonder if this Topamax had some serious effect on her balance. And while she was definitely also inebriated, don't get me wrong, I just don't know that she was to the point where she can't get herself out of the freezer, you know? Like I said, even if she did struggle, it's highly unlikely that she didn't even accidentally press the emergency handle at some point, you know? In all her thrashing and whatnot, you think you would probably knock that handle.
I'm thinking too, like watching her crash herself into that railing and like walls almost and stuff.
Right.
She was doing a lot of fast
leaning.
What?
Oh, sorry. I'm just yelling out stuff. Just kind of
like her falling forward a lot in a quick manner. Even her accidentally bumping into that latch
exactly
is plausible because she was
right.
Yeah, doing a lot of forward, like, falling type stuff.
Well, and remember that one part where she's in the hallway? I mean, she's, like, dragging her ass on that wall.
Oh, yeah.
So are you telling me that in this little freezer area, that was, like, the one wall that she ended up not leaning against or something? I mean, I guess, like I said, it's possible. You know what made me what case that happened recently that made me say, okay, well, maybe anything is possible, was that poor child that was trying to get his bag out of the very back of the Honda, and like,
oh God, yeah,
the
the
seat
van.
collapsed on him. He was able to call 911
Yep.
with OnStar or whatever, or his Siri, and they just didn't find him. Like,
You know what? That's bullcrap. The cop or whatever searched the parking lot and
it was,
couldn't find him. I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
it was lazy. But yeah, that case, I was like, well, shoot. You know, it really made me think, okay, well, there is always a possibility, because there's sometimes where I would be like, absolutely not. But there is some possibility here that an absolute freak, tragic accident happened. But I have to say that I just don't really feel like that's the case. Like I said, because you couple all that convenient crap, like she just couldn't get out, with the fact that she ended up in the one area that's unused. You know, like I'm going to say it over and over, but how convenient that you ended up in the one place, people don't come, nobody looked, you're not going to interrupt business. I mean, I just find that to be awfully convenient all around. It makes me pretty dubious. Like I said, it's definitely possible it was a tragic, terrible, terrifying accident. But I don't think that means that we can't give equal deliberation to other possibilities just because the official story didn't really care to look into them too far. And I know that there are some people that are like, well, you don't have all the evidence that the police had and they let it go. But that doesn't mean anything. How many cases have we seen where some case goes unsolved and then some little thing breaks the case or makes somebody talk? You know, I just don't trust that this was investigated to the fullest extent that it could be before being dismissed as an accident. It was not even a month that went by after she was dead that they stopped investigating. So at the very least, the hotel is negligent for allowing a young inebriated woman to stumble through the hotel, in and out of staff-only areas and into a freezer without anyone taking notice or assisting her. Like we said, where was the security, other than perhaps running around the hotel serving as a maid?
Yeah, well, even, like, not just the hotel staff, but where is everybody staying at this hotel? I've stayed in many a hotel and have had to, been in the hallway at weird hours or down in the lobby, whatever, and there's always someone, at least a front desk person at least.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That whole, like, once you watch the videos, it becomes a little more clear of why this is so eerie and strange. I think, do I blame her friends? Hard to say. I don't necessarily think they were being shady.
They might have been.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then again.
But they may not have been.
Right. Whether they were or weren't, if you're an actual friend and care about your friends, don't let your friends leave your sight at parties like this. Stick to a group, be together. Don't let them get hurt as much as you can.
There's like so many possibilities here, things that could happen, and even when things seem safe and secure, clearly it's not the case.
Well, I just think it's very strange that they said that they went in just to grab her phone and keys and they came back out and she was gone.
Yeah.
Like, how far could this chick have made it in the state she was in?
I know, that's what I was wondering, is like, how could she really have gotten that far away, and that three of them are unable to like pin her down? Like, she's like, it's like a comedy show where like she's like, she gets to the floor where they just left. Like, I don't think so, man. I really doubt that. On top of the fact that she ran into no one in the hallway. Okay, well, for example, this is, I mean, I admit this is obvious, but I guess it just kind of dawned on me. I mean, you're wandering around like this in this state where you're clearly inebriated, unable to see clearly, perhaps unable to walk straight, whatever. Maybe, I mean, I don't know what would have motivated her to just go walking around either. That's the other thing. She was ready to go. I know that because she texted from her phone, "I'm ready to go." Though now I think about it, like, when did she let her phone get off her person? Within a 30-minute period that they had to go back and get it, and then they called her mom from her phone. So why, in that 30-minute period after she texted, "I'm ready to go," did they have her phone? Well, or did she put it down?
There was like speculation too, saying that in the videos of her walking around the hotel that she had something shiny in her hands, which was either her keys or her phone. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case because her friends went and got them for her, but she was not there when they came back out. Supposedly.
Because now I am really going, okay, so you have her phone, but she had it 30 minutes ago. What are you trying to pretend like happened? You know, like, it's because I just can't pin down a theory.
Did she set it down somewhere or
because then I'm thinking, are they like, bitch, I don't want to leave yet? You know, they're like, I don't want to leave.
Well,
like, why are you trying to make us leave? And they're mad.
Well, she knows she had to drive. It's her mother's car. It's not her own personal car. When you're ready to leave a party, what do? Grab your crap.
Yeah, like, and if you had it in your hand when you,
Why would you put it down?
yeah, unless I'm pretty sure she could have put her phone in her pocket. Like keys, maybe not, but like a phone. Okay, so there's the weirdness about them saying she was frozen. Was she really frozen, or was she in rigor mortis? And they were just saying that for some odd reason. To explain it, I just don't understand. Or
They could have confused rigor mortis with freezing. Oh, she's in a freezer. Must be frozen body. But
I would hope a dang paramedic would know the difference.
Which is why I believe somebody that wasn't of a profession that would know the difference
Right.
covered her.
I wonder why then did they change the story? Is it just to cover the hotel again? Like, why would they change it to a paramedic discovered her? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
But it does look like that one video where that worker has the keys. That is where they actually really found her. And then the timing is kind of weird on that too. So anyway, like the time is all over the place on everything. So, this is like crazy speculation, but there is a video where there's like a body-shaped figure that at least it looks that way in a trash bag being carted down a hallway. And you can see that it would be a body in that position in which she is laying in the freezer. But I don't want it to seem like I am out here to make it seem like this big conspiracy and being disrespectful by creating these crazy theories. I didn't create it. It's out there. I would say that with that black plastic on her nails, it looks like, what if you were stuffed in a trash bag and you got warm in there, your nails got stuck and they took it off? I mean, that might just be crazy.
Yeah, but if it was plastic bagging, I'm pretty sure forensic could determine that pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, but I don't think they even tried to. I didn't see anything about that substance on her nails.
Well, that would have been useful.
Maybe it was glue. I don't know. Like we said earlier, her mom was there trying to find her, and she was possibly still alive according to the official story. So that's, to me, the most tragic part about this whole story. We already talked about it, but freaking, how can you not just think how absolutely awful that is to think that she was there within an hour and a half of her stumbling around, perhaps getting in the freezer on her own accord and getting stuck, and her mom was there, and they didn't want to take the time to look through an hour and a half's worth of footage on their own and not even show her, but just to see, perhaps, maybe. I mean, I don't know how it works.
I don't know either. But still, I do feel like the hotel should have opened itself up for her mom to go look, at least.
Yeah.
Something.
I mean, I just feel like the hotel kind of brushed them off. The police did the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of, just let her, she's partying, just let her party and she'll come home. So she got brushed off by the hotel, the police, despite the fact that it was 2017, and how many freaking cases do we have to talk about where parents or concerned anyone, family, friends, are brushed off by the police because they think their child is either a runaway or just partying or whatever. Like, it's crazy. Stop dismissing people because you don't think that they're, worth the time and effort it takes to be a freaking, just a servant to the city, whatever. You're supposed to be helping people. And if you're the hotel, why are you not trying to find somebody that went missing in your hotel? I mean, all in all, that's it.
So will we ever know what really happened in Kenneka?
I really wish.
Who knows?
But I know that it's not going to be investigated probably by the Rosemont PD again.
No.
So.
Well, which is just, I mean, it's so crazy too because, I mean, again, in reality, this case isn't old at all. There's still definitely a ton of avenues that they could take and investigate, but they're just gonna close it
within a month.
And they have.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's odd. The whole thing is odd. There's too many weird things going on. Why did they close it so quick? Even if they're just 90% sure that she got herself in there and couldn't get out. There's no proof that that's the case, you know? So
Right.
can we continue to try to investigate all avenues of possibility? I feel like it's so disheartening to think that it's just like, well, I feel like it's just like, it's just another dead black kid in Chicago. So, you know, that's where we're going to end this, because if it's not a gang thing, then it's a drug just got totally blown off.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sucks. That's it. And you know, like I said earlier, people want to say that talking about this further and not just acting like it's a closed case is exploiting the situation, exploiting her family. I don't think Kenneka's mom thinks that this is what happened to her.
No.
From everything that I've read and seen of her, she does not think that Kenneka put herself in the freezer. I think that for a while she was trying not to be too inflammatory about the hotel and the police, because she was probably thinking how she could take action against the hotel, and depending on what she said and that about them, maybe that could change the outcome of that. And maybe she's still working on that. I don't know. I mean, that may take too much money to put together this giant legal team to try to take on the Royal Crowne Plaza hotels, you know, I don't know. This small town crap, though, I mean, I gotta say, I can't totally discount the possibility that maybe there's corruption going on within the police and the owner of the hotel, who also happens to be some little somebody in Rosemont, you know, some little pooch. And pooch.
Well, that wouldn't look very good for him if somebody ended up dead in his hotel.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I think there's more to be looked into. It could even be a gang thing. Who knows? If she saw somebody shoot somebody, you know, it's possible that also has something to do with it. And they're just like, too much to go into. Whatever. I know, like Shai said earlier, the rooms were bought with fraudulent cards, and those people were arrested, and I guess they didn't have anything to do with any other whatever happened to Kenneka. But yeah, as it is, that's where it's closed, case closed, accidental death. Okay. So I just have a hard time accepting that.
Oh, yeah.
It's possible, for sure.
Definitely. It would be one of the weirder accidental deaths.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very interesting. So,
but I truly don't think that she was just unable to get out of there. I don't. So, you know, I'm just saying, sometimes why do we have to accept the official story when it doesn't seem to have been thoroughly investigated all around? You know,
right. I
would want my family member, my loved one, to have a more thorough investigation rather than them just saying it was an accident. Like, that's not okay with me. So,
right.
I'm glad that we talked about it. I look all the time for new information, any sort of new lead in the case or anything, but it just doesn't seem like at this point there's any.
It's pretty quiet right now. There's no breaks or leads or anything like that.
So yeah. I don't think there's any new information coming out about it, but I swear if we just keep up, you know, I remember people telling me I was crazy for continuing to talk about that story last October, a month after it happened. So it's one of those things where the people that talk about it on social media they're so polarized. There's people that are like, it was an accident. How stupid do you have to be to continue to question what the police told us? This is so stupid. Everybody's just exploiting the situation, and everybody's trying to get money and fame out of it. And I'm like, I guess that you can see it that way, or you can see it like, I think somebody might have been murdered.
Yeah.
And, you know, treated in a way that she shouldn't have been, and then again treated badly by the shitty investigation that was done, where they just say,
yeah,
you know, I just don't get it. So anyway, it's a frustrating one for sure. I go back and forth, like, I think this whole time that we've been talking about it and researching it recently, I send you messages that just say, I don't know what I think, like, over and over. I've said it.
Yeah, I know. I'm emotional this week, so I'm like, she was murdered.
And she might have very well been.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm going to keep thinking about Kenneka and looking into it, and I hope that one day, you know, I don't think all of those people at the hotel that were 30 to 40, 50 people, I don't think all of them were able to cover up.
It would take one person coming forward and just saying something for it to break and for something big to happen and the possibility of solving this.
Right. There's always some online account made where someone's like, I'll tell you what really happened. I was in the room and, you know, she was being raped, and then I'm like, you know, That's the kind of stuff, though, where it just gets it happens so often, where if that ever really did come up, if someone ever did really confess something, I mean, obviously they would go to the police, though. They wouldn't do it online. That's the thing, is like, unless they were just scared. But anyway, there's just so many like online confessions that people take and run with. And they're like, it happened this way. And I'm like, why are you thinking they're going to confess to strangers on Facebook?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's where we're going to end Kenneka Jenkins today. So that's that. Okay, guys, so thanks for hanging with us today. I would love if you could give us a review on iTunes or whatever platform that you listen to us on, and rate us 5 stars because we're worth it, man. So yeah, that would really help us out. Other than that, I'm good to go. Thanks, guys. I'm Creep It Real, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.